Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. One of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose. As long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking the good, the bad, and the ugly of Chicago sports this week, and boy, was there a lot of the latter. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. We are getting closer to the start of the actual season, hopefully, God willing. So make sure you head on over to icehogs.com and do a little Christmas shopping, buy you and yours, hat, shirt, jersey, sign up for season tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Man, what a dog shit taco game.
That is an insult to dog shit tacos, my friend.
Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. This offense is so epically bad.
Sean, we can talk about the same issues until we're blue in the face, and we can talk about what they need to do until we're blue in the face. You can talk about how the quarterback needs to do this, the offensive line needs to do that, the tight ends need to be involved, the wide receivers need to create more separation, they need to run the ball. We can say that over and over and over and over again. But you know what the reality is? None of that's going to happen. It's not. This team is not going to get any better this year. With what they have, this is what they are. And remember, the longest rushing play by the Chicago Bears this season was by a linebacker on a fake punt. And how many games are we in? 10? 10 games in? What does that tell you? What does that tell you?
You know, here's the thing. Did the quarterback play well? No. We all know that he did not play well.
No, not at all.
Did the offensive line play well?
No.
No. Did the wide receivers catch balls they should have caught and not drop balls that they, were in their hands or touched their hands? No, they definitely dropped some balls. Did players run wrong routes? Yeah, they did. So, I mean, there is no limit to the amount of blame to go around. But honestly, it starts at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking Matt Nagy. I'm not even talking Ryan Pace. Is this epic dog shit trajectory we've been on for a long time? You got to go up to Ted Phillips.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to go. Ryan Pace has to go. Matt Nagy has to go. This is bad. I mean, this is a really poorly coached team. The offensive system is so broken. It's just so broken. This is not tweaks. This is not. I mean, there's some times where you're like, all right, look at the Saints-Buccaneers game. Nothing went right for the Buccaneers. But you know what? That was just a bad game. You come back out and you make it right, and would they score 46 the next week?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes things happen. You game plan for a team, and they don't play you the way you thought they were going to play, and it's, things just go off the rails. It happens. It happens. I get that. But for it to happen week after week after week after week, before you realize that there's a major issue. The system that's in place is not working right like it's supposed to. And the players don't know it that well. That's why there's so many procedural issues. That's why there's so many times where a receiver and a quarterback aren't on the same page, because the system isn't working properly. When there is a breakdown on a play, other teams have these call-outs where they know what to do. Then, case in point, the Green Bay Packers. When Aaron Rodgers is flushed out of the pocket, is immediately there's a signal between the quarterback and the receivers, and guys go deep. What happens with the Bears? Guys stop and stare and watch the quarterback. And the quarterbacks, neither one of them roll out. They tuck and fall down. They tuck the ball and they just fall down with the slightest contact. It's so frustrating. The way we talk about, oh man, that quarterback's a statue and we're going to get to him. Really what we're talking about is the Chicago Bears quarterbacks, because other teams' quarterbacks, they get the ball out quick to minimize the pressure. I watched Gary put the projector or the game on the projector out in his backyard, and I went over there and watched it, and he was like, why can't they get pressure on him? I'm like, count how fast. Before we could get to 3-1,000, the ball was out. That's not enough time to get to somebody unless it's a broken play. But, so they're getting the ball out quick. The Bears don't do that. Everything is slow developing, double pump, and you're getting to guys. Like, other teams can make adjustments for a bad offensive line. We saw at the beginning of this game, the Bears the running plays were much different than the ones that they have been running the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And you saw some success. I mean, not major success, but you were seeing pickups of 4 or 5 yards. Yeah.
It definitely looked better. You had more things in motion. You had more, how do I say it? I don't want to say variety, but you had more of a mix and match, I think, early on. And, that drive where they kicked a field goal, that was a situation where your quarterback failed you. Because, what was it, Jimmy Graham that was wide open along the side, kind of near the pylon? Well, it was Jimmy Graham, right?
I think there was one, but there should have been a touchdown pass to Cole Kmet, and it was a situation where the quarterback and the tight end weren't on the same page.
Right.
It's one cut one way and the ball went the other way. And if you have that so much, that must mean that your players don't know your system, or you have too many plays in your packages. Like, I would much rather have you have 30 plays, but you know them really well. And and everything is very, you know who you're supposed to block, the system, and it's like muscle memory. Rather than you have 500 plays and you can't run any of them. Like, I didn't play football at a high level. I played high school football and then I played club football in college. But when there's plays, like, I played center. And, even just the center, like, you're like, okay, well, what if they blitz? What if they blitz 2 spots? What if the guy I'm blocking drops into coverage? What if there's a stunt? Like, you have to know what your responsibility is on all those plays. And when you have a complex system, like, there's a lot of different options of what you're supposed to be doing. And And when you watch it on paper, you're like, okay, well, you're looking at it as this base defense. This is what I do. But what happens when they throw wrinkles in things? What if they put 8 men up at the line of scrimmage, and you don't know who's going to blitz and who's going to drop into coverage, or everybody's coming? You have no idea. Like, that throws a wrinkle in. And if your guys don't know what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to change, they don't understand the system, then who cares? So I just feel like Matt Nagy doesn't have, if he can't get his players to understand his system, then his system is flawed. And I just, I was hoping that maybe we would see some better results with Bill Lazor calling the plays, because Matt Nagy gave up the play calling for this week, and it was maybe worse.
What was it? The final sequence. It's like a third down. They threw a screen pass.
There's so many times where they just had the most readable play that they were going to call.
They tried that screen pass over and over that is slow developing as molasses, and yet they still keep trying to make it work when it never works. Never works.
When they try to run that bubble screen where they one receiver drops back and they throw it to him, when that works is when they're not expecting it. When you've spread them out. When you have them, when you're taking the ball over the top, or when, to break pass rush, when you're just calling it regularly, they know it's coming. When you don't take the ball over the top and you can't hit a deep pass, then they have no reason to keep extra guys back there. They're gonna jump routes, because you know what? If they see that formation, they know what's going to become, and somebody's going to come charging in there, and they, honestly, is Green Bay is going to be sitting on those routes. What they should do is line up in that formation and not run that play. Is go deep. Go deep with another man. Go to the other side with Darnell Mooney one-on-one coverage deep. And nobody on the Packers' defensive backs can keep with him, is take a double move, fake that, and just go deep. And you know what? Suddenly they don't jump those routes. And then maybe you get an opportunity. But they're hitting him as soon as he gets it. Like, you don't even get back to the line of scrimmage barely.
Are the Bears first in football in plays that are in front of the sticks? I feel like they have to be.
It's just so infuriating. It's bad play calling, not knowing how the offense works, having no offensive identity. It's just abysmal.
Look, Sean, I just have to talk about this. I have to talk about this. I have to say it. I've seen enough of Nick Foles. He's not good. And look, the offensive line is obviously a problem. Everything we said is a problem. But how many guys did he miss last night?
So many. I would say, let's go with Tyler Bray. But man, that guy came in there and
no.
He was. I didn't think you could get worse. That guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I'd rather have Jimmy Graham throwing as a quarterback. I mean, really. Nick Foles led a team to a Super Bowl, played great. He had a Pro Bowl season. But wherever the magic was from those 2 seasons, it's just not here. It's not here. And I really like Nick Foles. When he led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, I'm not a huge fan of the Eagles, but I was rooting for him. I was a big fan of him. And I think he's a great guy to have is, a guy in the locker room, and he's going to look back on his career, say, I was a Pro Bowler, I was a Super Bowl winner, I was a Super Bowl MVP, and he deserves to just bask in that glory, But look, last year he was benched for Gardner Minshew, for goodness sake. And now here, it doesn't look good at all. And all right, Sean, this is where the meatball is going to come out. And I know you might be ready to throw fists, so I'm just going to say it. I am just going to say it. Look, your options at quarterback, it's bad and bad and bad. Okay, nothing's good. But at this point, if I'm going to have a bad quarterback, I want one that's at least mobile. So I wouldn't mind them putting Trubisky back in. Not saying that's going to make anything better. But at least if you have someone, even if he's not good at pocket awareness, at least he can move. At least he can move. And we saw a few instances in the past few games. The past few games where there was some blocking there, you know, as strange as it looked, and there was wide open space, and you knew that Trubisky could have at least picked up a first down. I mean, there was a clear one in the Saints game a few weeks ago. It might have even been in overtime. If I'm thinking about it correctly, it was along the sideline, and there was a clear path for anyone with any sort of legs to run for a first down. We know Nick Foles can't move. I mean, do you remember the play last night where he had maybe 4 yards in front of him to get a first down, and it seemed like the space was pretty open, and then he started taking a few steps. The next thing you know, got about 2 yards, and he was slammed to the ground. And you pretty much knew Trubisky could have at least gotten that first down. I
know exactly what you're
really
talking about. Gary and I were screaming at each other. Like, he's like, Trubisky would have made that. And I'm like, you're right. He would have.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, I'm not that meatball that's just like Trubisky was the answer all along. No, it is. Right now, I think it is just a really bad spot. This is a bad team, and you're right. At least have a quarterback in there that's mobile. And, you know, Foles' whole thing, his career was not throwing interceptions. He doesn't throw them interceptions, and he's throwing interceptions now.
Yeah.
And this offense is just broken. So I mean, I don't know what incentive Mitch Trubisky has to go out there and play for this bad offense. It's not going to help his stock at all.
For him personally, I don't think it's going to help anything. I just think at this point, and again, I hope Foles isn't hurt too bad. It sounds like it might not be as bad as we thought, but I just feel like if he's healthy after the bye week, Sean, frankly, I'm done with this season. Like, obviously, I'll still follow because I follow them, but in terms of having any hopes or expectations, in my opinion, it's over. You had to win that game. In my humble opinion, you had to win that game if you wanted to be serious in the hunt. And you know what? You had every opportunity to, because your defense did exactly what you could ask for. It shut down Dalvin Cook pretty well, and it forced turnovers. Those are the two things that you wanted to do, and they did that. And then you have Cordero Patterson burning his former team and getting another touchdown via special teams. He's one of the best at that in the game today. The rest of your team did exactly what you needed to do to win that game. Yes, Kirk Cousins converted a lot of first downs. They couldn't stop him on third down very often, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to give credit to Cousins. He got the ball away very, very quickly. The coverage was a little soft sometimes, but either way, you still held them for the most part when you needed to. And then the offense just couldn't get it done. And the only positive thing, true positive thing I could take away from this game was they didn't get flagged. They had, one penalty? That's the most disciplined I've seen them play.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all I could say.
They lead the NFL in penalties, and they didn't have penalties. So you're right. They played penalty-free football, but those refs were also letting them play.
They were. There
was plenty of times where they could have been flagged. But I guess that's neither here nor there. There was, let's give the credit, there was very few penalties. But I mean, this offense is, this might be the worst offense I've ever seen in my life. And I lived through the Terry Shea and John Shoup eras.
You know, it's sad to say. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I would have more faith in a John Fox offense scoring a touchdown than this one. At least you had a running game.
I mean, Jordan Howard's a free agent.
Yeah, with this offensive line, I don't think he'll do you any good. But, you know, Howard was basically the offense for the first few, for 2016 and 2017 when you had Mike Lennon. And I'm not saying that Foles is as bad as Mike Lennon. I don't think anybody really is as bad as Mike Lennon. But even with Mike Glennon, again, you weren't good, but I still felt like you could move the offense a little better than that. What was it, Sean? 14 total yards in the second half?
It was bad.
How is that even possible from an NFL team? Playing a team that is sub 500, playing a defense that has not been that good this year. How is that possible?
It shouldn't be. It honestly should not be possible. Like, you should be able to luck into more yards than that.
Yeah, you should. You should. And you know what? You were set up in good field position because of your special teams and defense. That Khalil Mack pick was beautiful. Beautiful. And you couldn't do... What? You kicked a field goal. Whoop-de-doo. You had a good field position when Anthony Miller returned it pretty well. Your one touchdown was Cordero Patterson. Oh, my God. I don't even know why I'm getting mad at this point. Like I said, I don't think this team is going anywhere. I think that pretty much sealed their fate. Because what? You got Green Bay, then you got Detroit, the Vikings again. I mean, your schedule doesn't look that hard, but with the way this offense is playing, I think they finish around 7-9, 8-8 at best at this point.
I mean, looking at the schedule, you've got Green Bay twice. I don't think there's a chance in hell that you beat them either time.
The only scenario I could see beating them is Week 17, and the Packers have everything clinched, and they're just resting their starters.
Maybe. But, all right, maybe you could beat the Lions again. Maybe you can beat the Texans, but they're playing much better now that they fired they fired O'Brien.
Well, didn't they just lose 10-3?
They're not good. They're not good. Don't get me wrong, but they're at least 500 since they fired him with Romeo Crennel.
Okay,
you get the Vikings again, who you should have beat. I mean, that team, you held them defensively, and your offense was just so pathetically bad. You got the Jaguars. It's so bad. And I'm looking here. Put this
in perspective.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say something really quick. Put this in perspective. We saw the Jets move the ball better with Joe Flacco the other week than what the Bears have done in weeks.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, I'm sorry. You were saying.
I just pulled up the stats of when Terry Shea, the 1 year he was here as the offensive coordinator, and this was a brutal season. The Bears scored 231 points that season. Let's see. They lost 20-16. They won 21-10. They lost 27-22, 19-10. I'm sorry, 19-9, 13-10, 19-7. They won 23-13. They won 28-21. They won 19-17. They lost 41-10, 21-7, 22-3, 24-5, 19-13, 31-14. They were bad. They averaged 3.8 yards per rush. They They didn't even hit 2,200 yards of passing. But your quarterbacks, you had 5 games with Chad Hutchinson, 5 with Craig Krenzel. I'm sorry, 6 with Craig Krenzel. Oh, sorry. 5 with Chad Hutchinson, 5 with Craig Krenzel, 3 with Jonathan Quinn, and 3 with Rex Grossman.
Ooh.
The quarterback ratings for Chad Hutchinson, 73.6 in 5 games. Craig Krenzel, 52.5 in 5 games.
Dear
Jonathan
God.
Quinn, 53.7 in 3 games. And Rex Grossman, 67.9 in 3 games.
Dear God.
Overall, do you know how many touchdown passes were thrown that year?
How many?
9.
9?
9.
Oh, wow. In 16 games.
Yep. Chad Hutchinson had 4 in 5 games. Krenzel had 3 in 5 games. Quinn had 1 in 3 games. And Grossman had 1 in 3 games.
How is that possible?
They threw 16 interceptions. Yeah. And they had 66 sacks.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Some things never change. Just year after year, a shit offense.
yeah, their leading receiver that year was David Terrell, 699 yards. Then Bobby Wade, names you probably don't remember. And then you only had one guy that had over 500 yards receiving,
And who was that?
David Terrell. You only had 4 guys over 250 yards receiving.
My God.
So I lived through that year. When we
Now, what year was this?
2004.
2004. Okay, yeah.
This was, we celebrated when they hired Ron Turner to replace Terry Shea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2004. That was Lovey's first year, right?
Was it his first year? Might have been.
I thought it was, because I thought Dick Duran was done after 2003.
Yeah, you're right. He was. And John Shoup went with him. So let's see the 2003 Bears stats. They probably were not too
Hey,
much
if history repeats itself, maybe we'll make the playoffs last year, like 2004, 2005.
Yeah, the year before, it's not much better. That was a John Shoup era. So we went from John Shoup to Terry Shea. The Bears threw for 2,617 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Do you realize that the best offensive
Their quarterbacks, Cordell Stewart, Chris Chandler, and Rex Grossman.
I remember Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart had 7 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Chris Chandler had 3 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Rex Grossman had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. And Cordell Stewart in 7 games started, 9 games played in, had a 56.8 quarterback rating. Chris Chandler had a 61.3. And our leading receiver, Marty Booker, 715 yards.
Wow. Do you realize that like our best offense we've had this century so far was 2013 with Mark Trestman?
I know. I was so excited for what the next year would have. I was like, ooh, second year of his system. It's going to be so good. Like, we might make up for a bad defense. Nope.
This is starting to give me slight 2014 vibes. Not that bad, because 2014 was bad altogether. The defense was bad. The offense was bad. Everything was just terrible. At least with this team, you still have a good defense. And, well, I don't know what it's going to be like at the end of the year, but remember, they were ripping each other's heads off all year in 2014. Now, I'm really starting to think there might be some blood boiling in that locker room. I would certainly not be shocked. You know what? Even though I'm not really a Twitter user anymore, I saw, what was it, Allen Robinson's agent, like, tweeting about the game, how ridiculously awful it was.
Why, if you're Allen Robinson, why do you want to come back?
I wouldn't.
So to compare that 1 year of Terry Shea to 2013 Mark Trestman's team, twice as many passing yards, twice as many, 3.5 times as many touchdown passes, and more than twice as many points scored. Like, they weren't good, but man, they could score points. I mean, let's see, 20, 24, 31, 40, 32, 18, 27, 41, 27, 19, 23, 21, 20, 45, 38, 11, and 28. Like, they put up more than 40 points more than once. And this Bears team is on pace to do that in 3, maybe 4 games.
Yeah. And then in the 2013 Bears blew it on the final play of the season, but we won't get into that. But
but I mean, back to this Bears game. You had a clean pocket for most of the game. I just don't know where this went off the rails. Like this offense, the defense is struggling because the offense just can't do anything. And now you're starting to get injuries. You've got Akeem Hicks with a hammy.
That's a big one.
Where did Robert Quinn go? We paid him a lot of money, and he has not showed up at all.
I want to go up to Robert Quinn, just sit him down, and give him the whole Office Space treatment. What would you say you do here?
I'll be the other Bob.
Bob?
I celebrate the man's entire catalog. But I'm dumbfounded. Like, they could accidentally get, more points than they are. On paper, they scored 13 points, but 7 of those were on the opening kickoff for the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I saw that and I'm like, you know what? They did not play a good first half. They get the kickoff. I'm like, all right, here we go, Bears. Here we go. And then just after that.
I was thinking in my dumb optimistic mind, hey, we have the lead now. We just get a big stop here. Then we go score again. And next thing you know, you're in control of this game. Then you had a fumble on a punt. And they scored 3, and they couldn't do a damn thing offensively. And I'm thinking, what was I thinking when I thought there was optimism here? Brutal reminder, right?
Don't have hope if you're a Bears fan.
No. And like I said earlier in the show, to me, this season is a lost one. At this point, I'd say, you know what? Just lose. Just lose. and maybe you'll have a better chance of changes and maybe a better draft pick. I'm almost just ready to say, just blow it up. Just blow it up and maybe trade some guys and stock up on draft picks. Get a new scheme in here. I don't know what else to do. You have a defense in its prime, but how much longer are you going to have that defense in its prime? And is having that defense in its prime not being able to properly address the issues, or at least fully, just going to keep you in limbo?
Nick Foles threw for 106 yards.
That many? Seriously, that many? That is the length of like one football field worth of yards. And I'm surprised he threw that many.
I'm just looking at these games, or this game log, and it is just so pathetically bad. Like, I mean, it's just unreal. The Bears had the possession for 13 minutes in this game, and they just couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything. It's unreal.
Sean, this just tells me at the end of the day, this team doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. And you know what? It almost feels like misery is just all that's going to be. So why bother being too invested and having any hope?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's right now they're nowhere. They're not in the playoff hunt.
No.
So the Packers have the 1 seed right now. Saints have the 2 seed. Cardinals have the 3 seed. And the Eagles have the 4 seed, even though they're 3-5-1. And just lost to the Giants.
You want to know the 2 most frustrating things, in my opinion, about this whole Bears season? Number 1, you are kind of wasting a good opportunity here, because I don't think the NFC is all that strong.
No, it's not. The Seahawks have a bad defense.
And they're coming down to earth a little bit.
The Buccaneers, you already beat. They've got potential to be a really good team, but they've got a lot of chinks in that armor. But here, I mean, if you're the Bears, you are outside looking in right now to the playoff standings. You would have to leapfrog either the Seahawks, the Rams, the Bucks, or the Cardinals.
And the Cardinals, I don't really believe in momentum, but I do feel like riding high after that Hail Mary win, that they can keep improving. And I think Kyler Murray made the right choice to stay in football. I mean, the kid's got some talent.
No, and their head coach is developing this offense to put some points up. And I think they're a very good team. I mean, I don't think this is their year, but I think they're a very good team.
They're trending upward. There's no question about that.
And the teams that you have to leapfrog, the Buccaneers are 7-3. And is this up to, okay, yeah, this is up to date. Yeah, so they're 7-3. So 2 games up on you already. The Rams are 6-3, and they beat you. Seahawks are 6-3. Like, you need, and you're gonna have 2 losses right away with the Pack. I mean, you're right. Maybe that last one, they bench everybody, but like, and even if you do make the playoffs, what's the point? You're not good enough. You're going to embarrass yourself in front of a national audience like you did last night. It's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. You know what the second other thing that's really frustrating about this season is you are wasting Roquan Smith. he has been just an absolute monster this year.
Yeah, he has.
And it's a shame that that's going to waste. And you know what? Khalil Mack looks more like Khalil Mack this year.
I think he was nursing injuries last year. I really do.
I think he was too. Yeah.
And he's looked really good this year, and you're wasting all of that. And the thing is it shouldn't be that hard to turn this around to be an elite offense. No, that's hard. But to be a middle of the road offense, it doesn't take that much. Honestly.
You should have enough players to at least be somewhat middle of the road. But, it's still not working. It's still not working.
Like, I feel like you could take the Rams offense that's just firing on all cylinders, and you could have the Bears coaching staff calling plays for them, and they're just going to poop the bed and not be able to figure anything out. I think this is just, this whole system is just absolutely pathetically beyond broken. And
see that the Rams is a prime example right there. They have a quarterback that's very limited in skills compared to the elite quarterbacks, and yet they find ways to scheme to make it work, to make that offense work.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Jared Goff was a bust. Everyone wrote him off. This guy is done. And then you got a guy who wasn't Jeff Fisher to coach him, and suddenly the guy is, throwing, like Pro Bowl type numbers almost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called having an offensive guru that really knows what he's doing. Matt Nagy's not that guy. We thought he was. We thought we were getting an offensive genius, and not the case. And you know what? Honestly, we blamed Mitch Trubisky. And I'm not saying Mitch is good, but now it makes you wonder. He's had John Fox and Matt Nagy. How much of this is him being bad, and how much of this is that he's just been given a shit hand?
I think that's a fair question. Again, like you said, we're not saying he'd be really great otherwise, but I think that is a fair question to at least ask.
Yeah, it's like I'm not saying that this is a strictly black and white issue, and that it's if he had a better system, he is in prime Steve Young. I'm not saying that. I'm saying could he have been a serviceable quarterback? If you gave him, if you got him in the system with the Saints head coach, or the Rams head coach, or the Cardinals head coach, or hell, even the guy from the Carolina head coach, like one of these guys, if Mitch Trubisky was under him, what would he look like? I honestly have no idea. Maybe he was just as terrible, but at some point, man, heads got to roll. The heads just have to roll. And, honestly, if I'm Virginia McCaskey, I'm not happy.
Isn't she tired of all this losing, man? Like, isn't she just fed up with all this by now?
No, and I'm not saying this to be mean-spirited. She's really old. How old is she?
Yeah, 96?
96. Like, she is 20 years older than she's supposed to be alive. Like, so she does not have a lot of time on her side. Like, wouldn't you just be like, you know what? That's it. I'm calling the plays here. Like, it's my team. I'm calling it. You're gone. You're gone.
Virginia McCaskey literally calling the plays.
She
her big fur coat on the sideline.
She's got like the microphone at the burger restaurant at the fast food place, and she's like, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you. She's just like laying people out, man. She's just like, nope, firing everybody.
I mean, even George McCaskey, isn't he fed up with it too? Like, seriously.
I think he's just happy to be there. I was just born real lucky. My family owns the Bears. It's cool.
Yeah, that could be fair. But, as I've always said, despite my ill feelings towards the McCaskies, I always do feel like Virginia legit cares about how they do.
I just think she doesn't know what to do. Like, she's old, doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. Again, God bless her, she's 96 years old. I got to give her credit for that. And for 96, she still looks pretty good. I mean, for 96.
Yeah.
And sounds good, too.
But, like, listen, I think there just needs to be major overhauls.
I do, too.
You still have a really good defense. You could still be in your window. I'm not saying you have to rebuild but having competent people in there you're going to have a first round pick again. You're going to have some picks built up. You're probably going to get some compensatory picks. Like, you know what is don't let this window fail by giving Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy another bite at this apple. They've not worked.
That's fair.
And, I don't think Matt Nagy, you fire him mid-season, but I think you have to fire Ryan Pace right along with him. I think you have to clean the house. You don't give Ryan Pace another shot at a head coach and a quarterback. You whiffed on both.
Yeah, I think that if there is going to be heads rolling, it's probably going to be after the season is over. I don't see anything happening from here to week 17. I really don't. It's going to play out, and then, when they finish, you'll see some changes. Hopefully. There's no guarantee that that's going to happen. It might depend on how they finish, but I do think no matter what, they need to make some major overhauls here. It's just time. And, with the NFL, you don't get a lot of chances in this league. It's like you better succeed or you're out.
Yeah. And, there's going to be a lot of GMs gone at the end of the year. You need to figure out what you're going to do. And honestly, if you're Matt Nagy, like your seat's feeling pretty warm right now. You've got a bye this week. You're coming off 4 straight losses going into your bye. 4 straight losses. And you had better come out absolutely firing. Like, you better be like, Mel Gibson with your blue and orange war paint on. You better be like the 300 movie yelling that this is Sparta. You better come out there ready to punch people in the mouth and take Green Bay and just mudhole them. If not, you should be fired. Like, you've got 2 weeks to reestablish this season and go, you know what? Like, what the hell are we doing? And
yeah,
you figure out your offensive line situation. Why the hell haven't they brought in anybody off the street? Any free agents in to replace, because what they have is hot garbage. But man, you need to figure things out. You need to figure this out, and you need to come out and you need to stomp on Green Bay. Not beat them, 10-9 or some other. You need to drop like 30 points on them and be like, you know what? We figured this out. Because if not, man, and you fall to 5-6 after you were 5-1, you lose 5 straight games and you lose coming out of your bye.
You fall sub 500 after starting 5-1.
I mean, honestly, if I was Ryan Pace, I'd probably, if they get their ass kicked by Green Bay, I look to fire him right then and there and make Chuck Pagano the interim coach, and because trying to save your own ass.
Yeah. If you lose by like 10 plus points to Green Bay,
which you probably will.
Yes. Probably will.
This is a league where you can turn things around very quickly. From last to first, happens all the time. But you know what? This is a team that's regressing. Regressed from 2018 to 2019. Regressed from 2019 to 2020. They're going in the wrong direction. And it's not like, oh, you know what, is we took a step backwards and here's a definitive reason. We had, our quarterback was hurt and all season, and, like when Ben Roethlisberger was hurt, or the year Tom Brady was hurt, like, all right, you can chalk those things up and you come back, but this team has regressed. They've regressed with the implementation of the system. There's been no major personnel changes. You add weapons and you just get worse. That just screams that's your coaching staff.
And the thing too is, I know you could play the coulda, woulda, shoulda game all along, but you could easily be like 3-7 right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was, you had two teams that absolutely choked in the fourth quarter and gave you wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, be thankful. We're 3-7, man.
Hey, we'd be thinking about a higher draft pick.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, let's see, what's the current draft status? Current NFL draft order.
We're just a little bit caught in the middle.
I think we are. We are currently 16, which is crap.
Crap, mega crap. They're crap.
I mean, the Jets got this on lockdown.
Yeah.
They are going to get that number, but right now there are 7 teams with 2 wins or less.
Yikes. So Jets, Giants, Texans.
No, Giants have 3 wins.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Jets,
Uh-huh.
Texans.
Uh-huh.
You said 3 or less? Or 2 or
2
less?
or less.
Okay.
You got 2. You got Texans and Jets.
Okay, Texans, Jets. Cowboys.
Yep.
Washington football team.
Yep.
I'm used to saying the Browns, but obviously not.
Give you a hint.
Don't tell.
Bears still have to play one.
Oh, the Jags.
Yep, they're 1-8.
Right. That's 5.
Yep.
And you said there's 7?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 more. Okay.
I'll give you a hint. One is definitely not looking for neither one of them is looking for a future quarterback.
Don't tell me. See, obviously no one in the NFC North. Nobody in the NFC West.
One more clue. They're both AFC teams.
Okay, they're both AFC teams. Okay. Let's see, I said Texans. I said Jets. Don't tell me. Oh, the Bengals.
Yep. Bengals are 2-6-1. One more.
Don't tell me. Who else is so bad?
It's a team that I don't think is that bad. They just have lost a lot of close games.
Oh, the Chargers.
The Chargers.
Yeah.
They've got a quarterback. I think they're not so bad. I mean, they're not good, but I think they're pretty close to being competitive.
They love to play 3/4 of football and then just kind of collapse in the fourth.
Yeah. So there's 7 teams that have 2 wins or less. So if you're the Bears, man, you are stuck right in the middle of that first round. And you're at the end of the season, you're probably going to be in that 12 to 16 range. So not really in the mix to get a top quarterback. And do you trust this GM to get you a quarterback?
Not now, no.
No, don't.
Your quarterbacks that you've brought in include Mike Lennon, Mitch Trubisky, and
Tyler Bray.
Tyler Bray, and the no more magic Nick Foles.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, is a lot of people are like, oh man, we should have got Cam Newton. No, Cam Newton sucked too.
He also had injury problems.
He did. There was all the reason in the world to not even know what you were going to get with him, but he hasn't been very good there in New England with a Hall of Fame head coach. Like, that team is 4-5.
Yeah.
So I just, your options weren't very good. At least,
would I take Cam Newton right now over Nick Foles? Yeah, probably, but I just think it's kind of hindsight 2020.
yeah, but what would you get with him?
At least some athleticism.
He's not going to go down so easy.
Right.
At least it's like running the Wildcat every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it really is. It's like running the Wildcat. And the Bears don't effectively do that with Cordero Patterson. I'm trying to think of, and let's also talk about, I thought Nick Foles might have died at that game. That man was,
that was scary.
That man was laying there. They went to like the break and came back, and he was still in that same spot. Like, he was waiting for them to draw a chalk line around his body.
Yeah. And it's amazing that it sounds like it's not going to be as bad as it looked.
Yeah, he looked dead. They carted him off the field. The opposing players came over with their helmets off, like checking on him. And he's going to be fine. Drew Brees got hit, played for a while, and he's got multiple broken ribs and a punctured lung.
Yeah, I wonder if that might be it for him, just at his age and where he's at. I know he's going to want to go out and compete, but...
Which one? You could have been talking about either one.
I'm talking about Drew Brees.
Yeah, Drew Brees might be done. But, I mean, honestly, that Nick Foles, man, it just looks like his heart is not into it.
Yeah, I think he's frustrated with both himself and the offensive scheme. You know, we've heard hints of that he was frustrated. You know, he did that interview. Yeah, I don't think that Foles magic is happening with this team like it did in Philadelphia.
Oh no, there's no magic. This is a no magic zone.
It's Muggle zone.
Yeah, this is not Hogwarts here.
Nick Foles is Ron Weasley's wand
with the spello tape on there.
Yep.
I remember somebody on YouTube was so mad the last time we talked about Hogwarts.
Why?
I don't know. I think he was an Eagles fan. If my internet sleuthing was, I don't know why he was listening, but he seems like an Eagles fan. So I think he was just mad to begin with. That's just what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, if you want an analogy, a true analogy for the Bears offense, it's Ron Weasley's wand. Just the whole offense, not just the quarterback, the whole offense. That is how you can look at this entire offensive unit, is Ron Weasley's wand, held together by tape, backfiring on you, and you eat more slugs than you do get yards.
And I'm looking, Dwayne Harris, the kick returner the punt returner who muffed the ball. Apparently they tore his tricep during that.
Oh, really?
And they fear he is out for the season.
My goodness. It just gets worse.
And Javon Wims is coming off of his suspension, so the Bears have to either reinstate him by Thursday or cut him.
Brother.
But I mean, like, listen, this team is toast.
Yeah.
I think the head coach and the general manager are on hot seats. Ted Phillips should be on a hot seat. Nick Foles just looks beaten, and I don't want to see that man die. I think it's time for Trubisky. When you come out of that bye, I think you got to play Trubisky.
I think so too. And you know what? If I was Nick Foles after the beating, I wouldn't want to be playing either. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't want to play the rest of the season. I mean, even if the injury it truly does not end up being that bad, the fact that you're on the ground so many times, I just would not want to go through that. And I really don't want to see him get hurt badly.
Yeah, and listen, I'm saying this with eyes wide open. I am not expecting Mitch Trubisky to turn around this offense and suddenly, he found the magic. And
neither am I.
This is not a Disney movie where, or a Rocky training montage where he spent these last few weeks just learning the system and learning how to be a player, and he's going to be a different guy. I really don't. I just feel like he's a little more mobile, and he's not going to get clobbered.
It's exactly how I feel.
This offense is broken, period. It's just whoever has the keys is driving it. I just feel like maybe Trubisky's the one, can drive this jalopy home to end this piss poor season.
This jalopy is a really awful sounding horn.
Yeah, it's like, your car breaks down and you call your dad to come help you with it, and he drives it home and lets you drive his car back. It's not like he's going to drive it any better. It's just like, he's more, you feel like, all right, when it breaks down, when something goes wrong, he's a little more equipped to handle it. And it's a broken car, and it's not like he's gonna just turn the engine on and start racing it. It's
Uncle Buck's car.
Yeah.
Every time you stop it, it explodes.
That is such a good movie.
I love Uncle Buck.
That is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Boom.
Don't go in there with that hat. They'll kill you.
The sight of this hat, it just angers people.
Here's a quarter. I want you to go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face.
Melanoma head's coming.
Old Buck Melanoma.
Not her wart.
Oh, why is that movie so good? If you're listening to this and you've never seen Uncle Buck, do yourself a favor and just watch Uncle Buck.
You have to.
It's so good.
It is one of those movies that will just make you smile every time, and it will also make you emotional at the very end, knowing that John Candy left this earth way too soon.
You have much more hair on your nose than my dad. How nice of you to notice. I'm a kid. It's my job.
Jeepers, you put onions in these.
Hey, I stopped smoking cigarettes. Oh,
now I'm on to cigars.
Now I'm on to cigars. I'm on a 5-year plan. I eliminate cigarettes, then I go to cigars, then I go to pipes, then I go to chewing tobacco, and then I'm on to that nicotine gum.
My favorite line in that movie: "Get in your mouse and get out of here."
Wait, do you think she hates me? With a passion.
With a passion.
Really? Do you think it's the hat?
So this hat just angers people.
I'm single again, but I never bothered to remove the frost, and I get compliments on the hyphen.
So I'll just go home and wait for the Federal Express man.
You should see the toast. I couldn't get it through the door.
When I was a kid, I always wanted my parents to make giant pancakes like Uncle Buck with the snow shovel.
Hey, who left the cat out? We don't have a cat. when Maisie goes to school, does anybody have a special story to tell the class about something that happened this week? My uncle was microwaving our socks, and the dog threw up on the couch for an hour.
Couldn't get the goddamn washing machine to work. I gotta go watch that movie.
It's so good.
I've seen it a million times, but it never fails to just cheer me up.
Yeah, that movie, honestly, it is a top 10 overall movie of all time for me.
John Hughes and John Candy, I mean, two absolute masters at their craft. I think John Candy is one of the best comedians of all time. And again, it just gone way, way, way too soon. He's the kind of guy that can make anybody laugh. And he doesn't need to be vulgar or obnoxious or even really, like, how do I say it, full of himself. He just knows how to be funny in such a subtle way. And the way he just delivered his lines, the way he would react in a certain situation, he was great. He was absolutely great.
He really was. Like, I mean, I loved him. He just died. He died. I'm old.
The year I was born.
I'm older than he was when he died.
Yeah. And look how great his resume was. Like, look at all the stuff that he did.
Canadian Bacon, Cool Runnings, Uncle Buck,
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Planes, Trains, Nothing But Trouble.
Heck, I liked him in Home Alone when he was the polka guy.
Yeah, he was Home Alone, Uncle Buck. Did you ever see Who's Harry Crumb? That's a good one too.
No, I haven't seen that one.
And then probably my second favorite of his movies, The Great Outdoors.
Yes.
Which I think was the year before Uncle Buck.
Oh, and he was in Blues Brothers.
Spaceballs.
Orange Whip.
Three Orange
Whips.
Yeah,
and Spaceballs. Barf.
Yeah, he was in Little Shop of Horrors.
It's Her Royal Highness's Rex Luggage.
He was in Brewster's Millions.
That's right. He was the catcher. Yeah, Richard Pryor too. R.I.P.
Yep. He was in Stripes.
I love when they're playing baseball and the train would come across.
That's a movie I haven't seen in so long, but it's so good. Brewster's Millions. There was so many good comedies in that era.
Yeah, there were. Whenever I see Brewster's Millions on TV, it's usually on MLB Network, like late at night.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Great Outdoors, see that one. Dan Aykroyd and John Candy. So good.
R.I.P. John Candy.
R.I.P. Oh man, now I need to go watch all these movies again.
Me too. Classics.
All right, let's move over to baseball. So we got a nice announcement here.
Big news.
He's
Huh?
Jose Abreu, first baseman for the Chicago White Sox, and American League MVP this season.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something just broke. But
no,
yes.
I want to talk positive news, and I got yelled at by Gary for not talking enough White Sox. Is we have the American League MVP, and he was very deserving of it.
Yes, he was. I mean, he led a number of offensive categories, and when you do that, that's usually well-deserved. Yeah, congrats to him. It was pretty obvious he was going to be the MVP. He stood out among most American League players this year. I think the only other one really in conversation towards the end was Jose Ramirez, but even so, Abreu was well above him, I think, in the way he played. So, well-deserved for him. He drove in runs every opportunity he had. He hit the ball out of the ballpark. He was just a big hit machine. And
Yeah.
Well deserved, and he fielded well too this year.
Yeah.
Probably his best fielding
He
season.
got 21 of the first place votes. Jose Ramirez got 8. Shane Bieber got 4. Mike Trout got 4. And I don't think anybody else got more than 1. And you had Tim Anderson, who was 7th in the MVP voting, also got 1 first place vote. So yeah, I mean, you had the really good things from the White Sox. Jose Abreu was a guy that I think a lot of White Sox fans were ready to let walk when he was a free agent.
I think so too. I think people thought, he was a good player for a while, but he might be coming towards the end of his career. And I mean, he's older, but he's not that old, and he hasn't really dealt with injury issues, so he's a pretty durable player. So, it's very fair to think that he's still got plenty left in the tank, at least a few more good all-star caliber years, I would think.
Yeah, and he's not coming free, but he's not under that big of a contract.
It's not like Bryce Harper or Manny Machado money.
Yeah, so you've got him for 2 more years, 21 and 22, 16 and 18 million per. So seems like a bargain with an MVP. So this is really good news for a team that is on the verge of doing some really great things, and just sort of gets, I guess, a lot of they're in the shadow, with the Cubs in the same city. Nationally, all the attention for Chicago baseball goes to the Cubs for the most part. So having the White Sox recognized with two guys in the top 10 of MVP and one winning it, I think that's huge. Kind of wake up everybody and go, hey, this team is for real. If only your new manager didn't get arrested for drunk driving already.
Yeah, that's the one positive thing, the one thing that's not positive, I should say. But yeah, I don't think right now is the time to, I mean, it's hard not to think about the whole La Russa thing, but I guess my whole point is, don't let that take away from the accomplishments that this team has done. I know it's going to be difficult at times with Tony La Russa, but you have a really dang good team, so try to focus on the goods, because there's plenty of goods.
Oh yeah, there's lots of goods. I mean, this team is nothing but goods for the most part. So I'm excited for what they could do. They can do next year. Really excited to see them if they open up the pocketbooks and actually spend some money. I think, man, they could really jumpstart this and be a serious World Series contender next year.
Yeah, I think so too. And for the next 5 years.
Wasn't planning to talk much baseball at all, but then, on the other side of town, two big moves that happened. Theo Epstein stepped down today, and the Red Sox named Will Venable the bench coach.
Yeah, this Theo news is pretty damn big. This is big.
I'm a little shocked that it happened right now, but I was expecting after next season he wasn't going to be back. So it's not like it was completely out of left field that Theo is gone, but that it happened right now, I'm kind of left with mouth wide open.
I yelled holy shit when I saw it on my phone today, because I still work from home and I had to go to the market to get something. So I'm driving home from the market and my phone is buzzing and buzzing and buzzing, and usually I have like 670 the score on, but I didn't have it on. I had the radio station on something else because I wanted to listen to the certain song that I like, so I did. And so I missed that like official announcement on the radio. And then I look and I see all these texts from people and all these breaking news stories just light up my phone. And that's when I yelled, holy shit. And look, I am looking at the state of the franchise and baseball as a whole right now. And the timing does make sense. It's still just, you didn't expect to wake up today and hear that Epstein stepped down. The guy who was here for 9 years, the guy who completely rebuilt a team and won their first World Series in 108 years. But, you listen to his comments and you listen to what he had to say. And, I think it could give you a lot of clues of what's going to happen. He was talking about long-term goals of the team. And he said that you need someone who's going to be here for the long run to be here for that. And this came, a day or two after Buster Olney said that the belief is there's going to be mass turnover of this Cubs roster. You know what this tells me is I think we might be in for a mass tool / somewhat rebuild here. Because if you are going to do that kind of thing, you're going to want a guy who's going to be there for the long run. That's where you promote Jed Hoyer. So, yeah.
And that makes sense, is if you're Theo Epstein, why are you going to make decisions that are long-term decisions if you're only going to be there short-term?
Exactly.
And I think that really does signal that the Cubs are going to make some major moves. And you're right. I think they're going to move probably 2 names. So I'm going to say probably of Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Wilson Contreras, and Bam Bam. 2 of those are going to be gone.
Yeah, I could see it. I still think that if there is one person I believe is absolutely safe, it's going to be Anthony Rizzo. I just don't see them moving him. And I would normally say Baez is pretty much safe, and I still believe chances are better that he stays than goes. But I'm not going to sit here and say right now, I'm not going to 100% sit here and say that Baez isn't going anywhere. I think it's more like an 80-90% he's not going anywhere. I think there could be a slight chance that he leaves. I just don't think that's very high. With Bryant, Schwarber, and maybe even Contreras, I think the chances are much, much higher with those guys.
Here's the thing about Javi Baez is he has a lot of skills, but the skills he has are ones that drop off precipitously when you hit a certain age.
And that's true.
So really, you've got a narrower window with him, and he is boom or bust. And when you pay a guy like that, you're gonna have to pay him soon. Is when you pay a guy like that, boom or bust. If it's bust, man, you're in trouble. You've handcuffed yourself.
Yeah, and this question has been asked a number of times since the end of the season. Yu Darvish, his value is at an all-time high. Are you looking to move him? Is someone willing to give up a lot to take advantage of his value right now? Look, I'm sure that Jed Hoyer is going to be taking calls on pretty much everybody. That doesn't mean he's going to deal everybody. That doesn't mean he wants to deal everybody, but he's going to be evaluating the perceived value of every one of these players.
I mean, you have to. I mean, that's really your job. Even if you were planning to make a World Series run this coming year, like you had a legitimate aspirations, how do you not at least entertain what this is worth? Because, if somebody's just willing to way overpay for a guy, you gotta be at least listening. And you're a team that is you're right. I think they're gonna try to do some retooling, but I think we're closer to a rebuild than a retool.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
And
That's kind of how I feel too.
here's the thing: is if you make some smart decisions, is maybe it's not that long of a rebuild. I mean, look how quickly the White Sox, they lingered in mediocrity for a while because they kept trying to retool. But when they just absolutely tore everything down, it wasn't, they went back to prominence pretty quickly, and they took some lower level guys. So.
And the nice thing, too, is where the Cubs are compared to, say, when Theo took over, I will say, is your farm system as a whole is not great at all. I'm not saying it is. But at least compared to, like, a year or two ago, at least you could look at your farm system and say, you know what? At least there are some things in here. Like Brennan Davis or Ed Howard or some of the pitchers that they drafted. Braylon Marquez is one of those guys you're hoping to be high on. Are you going to have something in Adbert Alzolay? Those are guys that at least you say, hey, you do have some notable prospects, and if you can keep building on those and further enhance the development, especially with the pitchers, then you might be able to develop something a bit quicker than what you did in, 2012 to 2014 when you were basically completely started from scratch. And right now you actually have assets to trade where when Theo took over the club, I mean, it was a bunch of washed up has-beens and bad players around Starlin Castro. You didn't have much to trade.
Yeah, so, I mean, here's where we're at with the Cubs. Is I don't think they're going to spend any real money at all.
No.
About on this off season, we're gonna be bargain basement, shopping and looking to build from within.
No, I mean it's going to be at the very most anything they buy this off season is going to be from Dollar General.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the article that I read earlier today. Here we go. We already talked about how they're probably going to, look in-house for their rotation. So Darvish, Hendricks, 1-2, whatever order. Probably Alec Mills and Adbert Alzolay. So some sort of 3 and 4. And then compete for 5, Tyson Miller, Braylon Marquez, Justin Steele. Maybe leave the door open for John Lester on a 1-year, 2-year deal. I mean, I think that's probably the most likely. But the Dugout is as an article where they're looking at potential non-tender guys that the Cubs could bring in and see what they can do with. And here's the names they're throwing out. Steven Matz from the Mets. He was a guy that we thought he was going to be real good.
Yeah, it looked like he had the skill sets.
And in 2020, he had a 9.68 ERA. But he's probably going to be non-tendered because I think he's scheduled to make about $5 million. And you're not going to pay that to a guy with a nearly 10 ERA last season.
No.
I think, if you could reinvent that repertoire, get that 4-seamer going, get that sinker, more down in the zone. Do you take a flyer on a guy like that? He's not 30 yet. The other name is Ross Stripling. Career / 3.77 ERA. Not terrible. but really struggled last year in Toronto, or led to his trade to Toronto. And he's another guy. He's under team control till 2022. He's a name. And Jose Urena from the Marlins. There was point where Marlins fans probably thought he was going to be their ace.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that.
And last year his numbers really pooped the bed.
Mm-hmm.
His walk rate went up over 50%.
Yeesh.
And his ERA jumped to 5.4 with a 6.06 FIP. And he got a fractured forearm at the end of the year. So those are guys that they talked about could be non-tendered, come as a cheap, prove-it short deal where the Cubs could, swallow it palatably. Probably $3 million for 1 year. I don't know, man.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
It's funny when you're like, all right, we've got a guy who's like a legit Cy Young type player in Yu Darvish, and we're gonna pair him in a rotation with a guy that had a 10 ERA last year.
Yeah, I know. It's too bad that the era for both Joe Madden and Theo Epstein were pretty bittersweet. I mean, Joe Madden, you missed the playoffs. You moved on from him. Theo Epstein, you made the playoffs. You scored 1 run the entire postseason. And the window appears to be ending sooner than you anticipated a few years ago. You thought that maybe you'd get another World Series or two, at least one other one by now. You thought that you'd be in the middle of your window right now. Guys would be extended. People would still be playing like they're in their primes. And while the Cubs have obviously still been competing, I mean, they won the division this year, and they, despite the disaster of the year before, they still were a winning ball club. But you saw guys regress. You saw guys not pan out who you thought they were going to be. You saw some trades and moves that didn't work out as good as you had hoped. And it wasn't what you thought it was going to be after 2016. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, Theo Epstein's legacy will be the man who brought that long-awaited World Series, a man that brought modern analytics and function to a very futile, just way behind in the times Cubs franchise, a guy that was as transparent, honest, and thorough in his words as it gets as a front office exec in sports. I mean, we can see other GMs come in and retool the Cubs into something good, but replacing Theo Epstein just as a guy and as a mind and his approach, it is really, really hard to replace a guy like that. And even though the era after 2016 is somewhat disappointing, I think overall, Theo did exactly what he was supposed to do. Come in, make this team contenders, and win a World Series. All of that was accomplished. Nobody in the past century had accomplished that. And it's sad to see him go. It is. But I'm also partially comforted knowing that the first piece of the puzzle in which molds the path of the direction that they're going on has been put in place, because I did not really understand how Theo was going to look for the future long term when his time was going to be up in a year. So at least we know who is going to be the head honcho. We know that there is, whatever the direction is going to be, we don't really know for sure. We do know that there is going to be a direction, and whoever is going to take care of that is going to be here for the long haul. I think that is kind of a big first step, and it is somewhat comforting knowing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I hope Jed Hoyer is up for the challenge. And I wonder,
I think he is.
and I wonder
think
who
he
they'll
is.
bring, because I guess they're promoting him to the president. So I wonder who will be the new GM.
I would like to see the GM come from the outside.
I
think
agree.
you need to add a new mind in there because, you've done a lot of good things, but we've obviously seen the Cubs fall short in a few areas since that World Series win. And I think you need another new mind or two to get in there, to be part of that mix.
I would agree. And I haven't really had the opportunity to look at names. I did see a lot of Bleacher Report users were saying, well, since the White Sox have already handcuffed Rick Hahn, maybe he could come over and be the GM.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. I would like that, but I don't think
I would like that too, but that is definitely not happening.
No. Let's bring Jim Hendry back. I'm just kidding. People have mentioned Jason McLeod. Naturally.
Yeah.
What's Andy McPhail up to these days?
Yeah, I too would like to see somebody come from the outside. Just it does add a new perspective, because if you have everybody that's been on the same page, I mean, if you butt heads a little bit behind closed doors, if you've been aligning so often publicly, it'd be nice to just bring in somebody with fresh ideas to shake things up a little bit.
I agree. And that's why I'd like to see them bring in somebody from the outside in that area. But, you know what I also can say about Theo Epstein is he can do whatever he wants.
I wonder what he will do. He's hinted that there's going to be a third chapter of baseball at some point, but who knows when. And I know Mets fans would just love to have him.
Oh yeah, Mets and Phillies fans, I think, were hopeful that he was resigning from the Cubs to join one of those, but that is not the case. And
I don't even know if
like
contractually he'd be able to. He's under contract for another year, so I mean, I bet I would.
He is off the books though.
They may not pay him, but he's under contract, so like I don't think he can go to, unless he asks for permission. I don't think he could go to another team. They could just block it and be like, no.
I don't know why they would. I mean, if he's not going to work for you anymore, I mean, but either way, what I see from Theo the next year is he talked about his nonprofit organizations that he's starting to work on. And, they were saying on 670 The Score today, I think it was Lawrence Holmes who said this, if he were to go out and say, you know what, I'm going to get involved in politics, I wouldn't be surprised. If he said he was going to be a professor at an Ivy League school, I wouldn't be surprised. He can do a lot. And you know what? If he steps away from the type of position he's in for a year or so, and he's like, you know what, I want to come back, the phones will ring. The phones will definitely ring.
He's only 46. I mean, she'll shortly be 47, but he's still in his 40s.
Yeah, he's not old. And you know what he said that I've always agreed with? He was a big believer of the expiration date in terms of personnel in sports, and I've always been a believer of that too. So he's kind of setting his own expiration date, so to speak. He's like, it's just sometimes it's time to move on. And he even admitted in the press conference today, I listened to it, and, his spirits were very high. And he was saying how, I've been really skilled at rebuilding and developing, but maintaining might not be my best. So it could be better for me to move on right now. I mean, that's kind of paraphrasing it, but that's basically what he was saying. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to go in another direction, you can argue all day that it could be just time for a new direction for both sides. It could be best for both sides to move in another direction. That very well could be. As a believer of the expiration date, I think there is a lot of validity to that. So he's getting out at a time that I think is opportune for him. It was a weird COVID year. We're going to have negotiations. That could get ugly like they did for the COVID season. might just be a great time to say, you know what, I'm gonna step away for a little bit.
Here's CBS Sports list of potential future GMs. Number 1, Dana Brown, Vice President of Scouting for the Atlanta Braves.
Dallas Green.
Randy Flores, Director of Scouting and Assistant GM for the St. Louis Cardinals. Dan Kantrovitz, Director of Scouting for the Cubs. Billy Owens, Director of Player Personnel and Assistant GM for the Oakland Athletics. Jared Porter, Senior Vice President and Assistant General Manager for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Pete Patilla, Assistant GM for the Houston Astros. Steve Sanders, Assistant General Manager for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He was one of Ben Cherington's first hires. Emil Saude, Senior Vice President and Assistant GM for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Matt Arnold, Senior Vice President and Assistant GM for the Milwaukee Brewers. Bobby Heck, Special Assistant to the GM for Tampa Bay. Kevin Ibach, Senior Director of Pro Personnel and Pro Scouting for Tampa. Jason McLeod, Senior VP of Player Personnel for the Cubs. This article is from about 3 weeks ago. So Kim Nig, Senior Vice President of Baseball Operations for Major League Baseball, who is now the General Manager for the Marlins.
Yeah, and congrats to her.
My favorite comment on Bleacher Report was, somebody find out what Tony La Russa has to say about this.
Oh, boy.
Damon Oppenheimer, Vice President and Director of Amateur Scouting for the Yankees. And Pete Woodfork, Senior VP of On-Field Operations for Major League Baseball.
And Sean Hopman, Senior VP of Bills Fan Puke.
Sean, what do you think about us starting this guy who's coming off Tommy John for $2 million, but he won't be able to play until August?
Every time they pan to you sitting in like the first row or in like the owner's box, you know, everyone's just there sitting there normally and you're just fountaining puke all over yourself.
Is people are outside my office listening in with their ear pressed against the door, trying to decide if it's me being grossed out and barfing all over the place, or if I'm just using my Marty Havlat crock pot. Because they have a similar sound. One is
they do.
And the other one is.
I can see why that would confuse people.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God. Is he cooking a delicious meal, or is he really grossed out right now?
Or did he cook a delicious meal and now he's getting rid of it?
But there's two more things I just want to cover that are real quick. One is just I'm just going to say this so it's out in the ether. A year ago, the Blackhawks goalies were Robin Lehner and Corey Crawford. And now they're Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban.
And how many combined NHL games have they played? The short, quick answer is not many.
Yeah, I would venture to say Corey Crawford has more playoff appearances than they have total games in the NHL.
You might be stretching it there, I gotta say.
Well, how many games has Colin Delia played in the NHL? Let's see. Hold on, I want to see this. Colin Delia.
He had that brief stint under Jeremy Colleton in his first year.
Stats.
What do you think, Marty Havlat?
Let's see. Colin Delia. He has played 18 games in the NHL.
Yeah.
Malcolm Subban.
His brother's played plenty of NHL games, that's for sure.
That is true. That is very true. Malcolm Subban. No, he's played 66 games.
Still, that's not even a full season's worth.
Yeah, that's not very many. So that together, they've played 84 games.
So slightly over one season, while Crawford and Leonard have been playing starting for years.
Yeah. Let's see. Corey Crawford. Corey Crawford has played in 488 games in his career. And let's see. Playoffs. Corey Crawford has played more playoff games than Malcolm Subban and Colin Dealey have played in NHL games combined.
Well, yeah, not surprising. I mean, Corey Crawford's got 50 or 51, one of the two, playoff wins in his career.
He has played 96 playoff games, and Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban have a combined 84 games of NHL experience. So you are definitely having a drop off on there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the NBA draft, I believe, is tomorrow.
It is. Hey, it's a bye week. We should have Dave on next week. Focus on the Bulls draft.
Dave, did you see Dave's show got canceled?
I did.
I was really bummed about that.
Me too.
I'm not surprised because I know there was a lot of cuts due to COVID and things.
Yeah.
I just feel awful because they were, I always like watching the show, but man, they really hit their stride and they had so much fun. It was so much fun to watch. Even when I probably watched their show more than I watched actual Bulls games.
Me too. After Bulls games, if they were on, I'd flip them on for a bit and listen.
Yeah, I DVR'd them so I could watch them later if it was on late. And
yeah, no, they were a good listen.
Yeah, it was. I feel bad, and I know Dave will bounce back because Dave is. I mean, this is not just lip service. Dave is one of the nicest people I've ever met. Like he is.
Yeah,
just
he really is.
Genuinely nice, genuinely honest, good dude. I like Dave a lot, and people don't forget good dudes, and he is so personable, and he's really good on the air. I don't see how he doesn't land on his feet.
No, he'll be fine. I'm very confident he'll be fine. I mean, like you said, he is an amazing guy, an amazing soul. And you know what? He works hard and he's very talented at what he does. He's got the work ethic. He's got the personality. He knows how to build such a positive relationship with you. I think he will find a really, really good opportunity and it's going to be better than ever. I really am confident in that.
Yeah. I mean, that guy will come on, the tiniest of podcasts and give you just as much of himself as he would if he was on, with Mark Schanowski or Will Perdue, or Stacey King. Like that's just who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 100% honest Dave all the time.
No question. He's really just a great guy to have on any sports program. And, you should talk to Dave. I should talk to my brother. We should also talk to C-Dub. We should just get an ultimate show going.
we should get C Red Fred.
Okay, we don't want to brawl on our hands, but actually that would be pretty fun. Just let the four of them go at it, and you and I just listen.
Is C Red Fred it's funny online? He is so big. In person, he's still got a lot of opinions, but he's another super nice guy. Is when they had the draft lottery party last year for Bulls Outsiders, is I didn't know that there was another section where C Red Fred and other dudes were. So I was just sort of standing off, and then when I saw Dave, He's like, oh, are you hanging out with everybody else? I was like, no, I didn't know anybody else was there. And went up and Fred was just like, he's like, oh man, I haven't seen you in forever. And at one of the draft parties, he was introducing me to people. He's like, this is Sean. He runs one of the best podcasts in Chicago. And I was like, man, look at this. He's just a really good dude. But he's just,
when I was back on Twitter, I talked to C-Red Fred a bit, and he is a really nice guy. He just likes to have fun.
Yeah, he's just a big personality. But yeah, definitely, I'm 100% serious. Talk to your brother, and I'll talk to Dave, and we'll see if they're available, next Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, hey, again, Bears bye week, so let's make it happen.
Yeah, and I like that. I've read multiple articles where other GMs have no idea what AK and the Bulls are going to do with this number 4 pick.
Isn't the secrecy great?
I love it.
Isn't it great?
I love it. Nobody knows what they're going to do, and it adds intrigue where we all thought, crap, this is the big 3 in this draft, and we're on the outside looking in. But suddenly he made this intriguing. What are they going to do? Are they going to trade? Are they going to draft the guy from Tel Aviv? Are they going to, what are they going to do? Are they going to hope that somebody falls out of the top 3? Are they going to trade? Nobody has any clue what they're going to do. And I'm really excited.
It's exciting. Yeah. It's a nice mystery.
And it's funny, you're like, oh, I have no idea what the Bulls are going to do. And they just went and said, you know what? We're going to give a qualifying offer to Denzel Valentine. Everyone goes, all right. And I think I want to read it accurately. Is Big Dave retweeted somebody, and I thought it was hilarious. Is Big Dave, where are you? Big Dave, come on. Oh, here we go. Is Bulls fans. I'm not going to lie. I trust Karnisovas and Eversley with whatever they decide to do. Karnisovas. All right, bet. I'm letting Chris Dunn walk, and on the real, this Patrick Williams kid is raw. Bulls fans. I'm beating that ass.
Nah.
And then Dave retweeted this too. Is what did Arturas Karnisovas do in his very first draft after being hired by the Denver Nuggets? Traded Doug McDermott to the Chicago Bulls for Gary Harris and Yusuf Nurkic. And
holy crap!
Selected
wow.
Nikola Jokic with the 41st pick. Solid draft. Let's hope the same happens to the Bulls tomorrow.
This is the most excited I've been for a Bulls draft in years.
I'm actually excited. I'm going to watch the draft.
Me too.
And I'm bummed. I'm bummed that the Bulls draft party probably not happening. I didn't hear anything about it, but with COVID, even if it was, I probably would not be in attendance. But it was a fun time. The draft party at Doug's house, because it was like C-Red Fred and C-Dub, and it was like a lot of people you interact with on Twitter, and you're like, hey, what's up, guy that I interact with on Twitter that I don't know in real life, now I'm hanging out with.
Yeah, I was sad I couldn't go to that.
It's a good time. Good time. There's pizza and cookies and beverages and big TV and
crock pots of Marty Havlat style. You walk over, you just start hearing
yeah, except that it's an NBA crowd, so it's the Jerry Krause crock pot.
Does that just ooze around the sides?
It just comes out of pus pockets under the eyes.
That is so disgusting. Oh my god, that is the grossest thing I've ever heard.
If I was a superhero, if I was a member of the Avengers, I'd be cross the line guy.
Oh my God, that is so gross.
Oh man! Now that everybody's thrown up, I think it's time to say goodnight on this episode. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn app, Google Play, Spotify. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. Thank you guys again for listening, and until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears! Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna